Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Heidi?
Um, I already went to the clinic for my
Uh-huh.
treatment. Today is Saturday, so only morning it opened.
Nice.
What?
Yeah, what happened, Heidi?
No, nothing. Only went to the clinic.
Did they say anything? Did they do
Uh,
anything?
I don't know nothing. Only for my treatment, radiation treatment. My shoulder kind of muscle training, so maybe it's very tired. Always I need to have cast. Cast is quite heavy.
Uh-huh. Sounds great. Yeah, I know. The cast is heavy, but I mean, do they have a plan for maybe loosening it or making it easier for you to move around with that on?
No,
It has to stay on.
yeah, nothing special.
Yeah. So you have to have it for another week, right?
Yeah, I need to bring this cast until next month.
Uh-huh. Oh, next
Yeah,
month, so it's more than a
yeah,
couple of weeks then.
more than 3 or 4 weeks.
Nice, nice.
I
So
have
that's great.
so I have a stiff shoulder.
You have a stiff shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's one of those things that if your arm hurts, then it's
Mm.
your entire if your let's say your arm is broken, all the affected muscles near your arm, so your shoulder, maybe
Yeah.
your biceps, your triceps, all of
Mm.
those muscles hurt because of that associated injury,
Have you ever experienced breaking a bone? No, breaking bone. Have you
Uh-huh.
ever experienced?
I've never experienced breaking a bone, no,
Oh,
unfortunately.
really?
Yeah. So it was one of those things that I think is, it's an experience if you want to have that experience, but at the same time, I would not want to have that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
very good experience for me.
uh-huh.
Once last year, I broke my another bone, another arm. Then I understood how painful it was, or how to treat that, how overcome come from that situation.
Uh-huh.
But next, this is the next time, second time. Needless,
Exactly.
needless experience.
I know, I know. I mean, we have to be flexible, I guess, when things like this happen, right? I mean, I think a big experience for a lot of women is when they first have a child, right?
Yes.
So it's such an a major physical and mental, emotional change for them that. But some women, once they have children, they like to have more children, even
Mm,
though it's painful and not exactly the best, not exactly the most enjoyable process, right, for 9 months.
yes, yes.
But yeah, it's still an experience, right? I think we all grow from these experiences. Do you have anything fun planned for the weekend, for today or
And
tomorrow?
nothing because of my arm, I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it makes sense but I mean, you can still do the activities you did before, like you enjoyed walking, you enjoyed shopping. You can
Yeah.
still do those, right?
But now I can't do that.
Because so you want to stay at
And
home
now,
and rest,
can
huh?
you imagine if a woman had a brisk walking, having a cat and there?
Oh yeah, exactly. If you're walking briskly, yeah, absolutely. Then it wouldn't be good for you to
Very
have a
strange, right?
cast. Yeah. But here, we do have children. We do have a lot of teenagers, for example. I had friends in high school who maybe they broke their leg. They still did a lot of things. They were outside and, you know, uh, walking around, shopping, going everywhere. So it's interesting. It's different for each person, of course. So.
When I was junior high school student, my classmate got injured on his leg. He had a cast. then many students write down the bad thing, like stupid or something on his cast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not fair. People shouldn't say stuff like that, right? But in any case, yeah, it's an experience. Hopefully you feel better soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Gabriel, how's it going, man?
Hello, fam. I'm good in it.
Good, man. I'm good. I'm good. How's life in Recife?
A lot of traffic jam here.
Really?
Yes, it's very annoying.
Ah, man, I don't know what to say. I feel that today I was in traffic in the morning. It usually takes me just 20 minutes to go to work from my house, and today it took me 45 minutes. It was
What
ridiculous.
about 1 hour and a half?
Oh, that would kill me.
10
It would kill me. I could never tolerate something like that. But
kilometers. Can you believe it?
25 kilometers, 1.5 hours?
No, 10.
10.5 hours?
Yes. No. To go through 10 kilometers
Yeah.
from my work to home,
Oh.
I took 1 hour and a half.
10 kilometers for and 1.5 hours. Wow, that is ridiculous.
Yes.
That is 10 kilometers is nothing. It's
Yes.
such a short distance, right? But I mean, is it because of was it during rush hour or is it always that busy?
Nowadays it's worse because of the constructions that they are doing for the World Cup. You know? They
Hmm.
are uh, changing the way the buses. How can I say? A
The
bu
the bus,
bus
uh-huh. Yeah.
in the plural buses.
Yeah, buses is the plural. So if you have one bus or multiple buses, exactly.
Right. Yeah, they are changing the way that the buses take the passengers. They are reforming the stations that you take buses, you know?
So they're changing the schedule, they're changing the route, the bus route, or you can say some English speakers also say route. You can say route or route. They're changing the route or the
Hmm.
route. Uh-huh.
And also they are doing like a work constructing new stations that you take the buses. You know?
Uh-huh.
So and today uh, a match happened here in my city, like a football team, you know?
Uh-huh. A football match happened.
Yes, they played like 7:30 p.m. and that's the worst hour for traffic jam.
Oh man.
So a lot of things in happening in the city, and the traffic jam was terrible.
What time in the what time or what teams were playing during this match?
The name of the team is Sport.
Sport? Okay.
Yeah,
Are
my
they
team is called Nautical.
uh-huh. Are
They
they
are
local?
rivals.
They're both from
Yeah.
Recife?
Yes. And we have another one called Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, uh-huh.
They're all rivals.
So were the fans crazy? Were they like who won the game?
Yeah.
Was it no, I was saying who won the game? Did Sport
Oh,
win? Uh-huh.
yeah, the sport win. It was against America.
No
It's
way.
from it's from another state in Brazil.
Uh-huh. What was the score?
It was 3-0.
Wow, they got killed.
Yeah. My team that I support is Nautical.
Mm-hmm. Not
It's
to
red and white team.
red and white. That's awesome, man. I think soccer, football is extremely popular in Brazil, right?
Extremely, Uh,
Everybody's
if,
crazy about it.
if you power on the TV, always will happen. Always will you will see a match. Yeah.
One channel will definitely have a match, right? Out of all the channels.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
No problems, man. You're doing very well. Guys, I think we'll get started because you guys are here already, and it's about 11 minutes into the class. What I wanted to focus on today, so we are looking at polite questions today. So polite questions is the theme of the class. And we're going to be talking about traveling. Traveling is one of those things where sometimes when we find ourselves in a different area, a different country, a different city, we have to ask for help. We have to go up to people, go up to strangers, and ask them for any number of things because we are travelers and we don't know where things may be. So in particular today we're going to be talking about food that is served on airlines, right? In this particular case, a very dangerous food was served on an airline. But before we get to that, guys, let's say you're on a trip on a plane, right? And the lady or the man, the flight attendant, we say flight attendant, the flight attendant is coming through the aisle, coming through the plane, and is asking people, would you like the chicken or would you like the vegetarian meal, right? Maybe they're asking you this. How could you politely ask the flight attendant that you want something else, anything you want? You just want to make a request. How would you make that request in a polite way? Let's start with Heidi.
Did you have any vegetarian food?
Did you have any vegetarian food? Right? So that's one way of asking it. What if she says, no, I'm sorry, we only have chicken? What will you say?
I'm sorry, I'm vegetarian, but it's okay.
I'm sorry,
I can avoid eating chicken.
What if she says, I can bring you just a salad, if you would like?
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Fantastic, right? So that's a nice conversation. That's a conversation between somebody who doesn't have something to offer, in this case, the flight attendant, and Heidi is saying, thank you for your consideration. I will take the salad, right? The focus is on having a polite conversation. So, Gabrielle, let's say you're on a plane. The flight attendant comes to you and says, would you like the vegetarian meal, sir, or would you like the chicken? Right, and you don't want either of them. How do you request something else?
Sorry, I don't like this kind of food. Could you show me if you have something else?
Yeah, could you show me anything else, right? That you have, right? Or could I choose another meal? Right? So you can always say, could I choose another meal, right? So that's a great way of making a polite sentence, right? When we look at the construction of polite questions, one of the examples that we will focus on is actually could, right? So great job with that. So let's dive into the lesson, guys. We can make questions polite by using could. We can use did you, right? We can use can, right? And we can also use other words that we put before the sentence to indicate that we are going to be speaking politely. So we can say, excuse me, right, at the beginning of a sentence. Excuse me, could you please show me the menu, right? Could you please show me the menu? And then you can also use would you mind, right? Would you mind is probably the most polite way to ask somebody for something, right? Would you mind closing the door, right? Would you mind helping me figure out where the city center is, right? So all these different things, we use polite questions, and those are the few examples that we looked at. Before we move on, hey Monia, how's it going?
Hey Farhan.
I can hear you this time.
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining the class. So Monia, what we were mentioning was we were talking about polite questions, how to make polite questions, and the scenario that we were looking at was, let's say you're on a plane right?
Mhm.
And then we have the flight attendant. She's coming through the aisle, and she's asking people. We have the vegetarian meal and we have the chicken option. Which one would you like, right? Let's say she's saying that to you, and you don't want either of those options. So how could you politely ask for something else that you want?
Okay. May I have something different, please?
May I have something
Can
different,
you
please?
can
That's
you
one
show
example.
me what you have?
Can you show me what else you have, right?
Mhm.
Can you show me what else you have? Can you, could you please give me or tell me about other options, right?
Or asking for something specific, for example, nuts or tea or coffee.
Sure. So how would you ask that?
May I have a cup of coffee?
May I have a cup of coffee, right? May I have a cup of tea,
Mm.
right? So those
Yeah.
are all really good ways of making the conversation very polite, but at the same time asking for something, right? So
Yeah.
those are all great ways of making these sentences. And some of the examples that we can look at that you guys used, could, right? Could you please? Can you, right? Could you, can you, right? And also we have, we can add please at the end of the sentence. We can add excuse me at the beginning of the sentence, right? And we can also use, for example, would you mind, right? Would you mind is very polite. And then for somebody who is maybe serving the food, you can say, did you want, right? Did you want something? Did you want something different? Would you like me to get you something else, right? These are all ways that waiters, flight attendants, a lot of these folks make very polite questions, right? So we're going to be practicing some of these examples, but before we move on, any questions about what we looked at so far?
No, thanks.
Great. Heidi, do we have any questions?
No question, thank you.
Sure. Oh, you guys are very polite. No questions. Thank you. That's awesome. That's great. You guys are practicing that. Okay. Usually for me, you don't have to be that polite. I think we know each other, but it's good that you guys are being polite. So let's say, for example, I'm going to give you guys a scenario. What would you say if you're on a plane, right? So we're still on an airline. You're on a plane, and all of a sudden you open your sandwich. Let's say you choose a sandwich, and you open your sandwich, and you just absolutely cannot tolerate what you see. It's disgusting. You open it, and you're shocked. Maybe the meat is bad. Maybe the vegetables are raw. Maybe it's really bad food. What would you do in that scenario? Let's start with Heidi. What would you do?
Polite. Polite, it's difficult.
Well, what's one way you could
Could
get
you
the
look at my sandwich?
Could you look at my sandwich? And
I
then, or for example, how could you get them to give you something else, maybe?
I think this sandwich is a little strange.
I think the sandwich is a little strange. And then, what's the next part?
Could you change them to other dish?
Yeah, could you please exchange this for another dish? Could you please give me another dish, right? Now, depending on how serious it is, right? In our article today, we read a very serious situation. But, so Monia, let's say you have a similar situation, right? You're on a plane, you order the food, you open the food, and the food just looks, what you see, you would never expect. What would you do?
Well, first I'm gonna ask her to exchange the mail for me. If she refused, then I'll try to ask her to show her the food and show her that it's disgusting and I don't like these things.
Absolutely right. You could say, so what's one way you could get her to, how would you get her attention? How would you get her attention to come to your seat and see your food?
Excuse me.
Well, what about after that? Let's say she doesn't hear you. Let's say she's like far away. What would you do? Excuse me, could you come here, please?
Yes.
Right? Excuse me, could you come here, please? And then, let's say she still doesn't hear you. What would you do?
I don't know, maybe stand up.
Yeah, you could start shouting maybe. You can maybe get somebody else, right? How would you ask somebody, maybe a passenger, how would you get the passenger to maybe help you get the flight attendant's attention? Right? Let's say there's somebody sitting near you who is closer.
Okay.
How would you do that?
And he already heard me?
Yeah, he heard you, but the flight attendant didn't.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask him, please can you call the flight attendant for me?
Fantastic, right? Can you call the flight attendant for me? Now this guy calls the flight attendant comes to you. Now what do you do? She says something like, yes ma'am, what can I do for you?
Well, would you mind exchanging this meal for me?
Why? What's wrong with it?
Because I don't like this type of food.
Because I don't like this style of food, you said?
This type of food.
Oh, this type of food, I don't like this type of food. And then, let's say she is a bad flight attendant, and she says, I'm sorry, we don't have anything else right now.
Then after that, I can't be polite. I'm sorry.
I know, right? After a certain point, I think you would lose patience, right, with the situation.
Of course.
Which I think, I mean, I'm just pushing you guys to think of more ideas. But yes, after a certain point, you know, let's say it was a similar situation, but in a restaurant. What is one way that, especially in American culture, we really try to push people to push, for example, employees to deliver their service properly, right? If you're in a restaurant and you see an employee who's not helping you, what's one thing you can say to them that'll really change them instantly? What's something you can say? Heidi, maybe you can help out Monia?
I'm sorry. I think this is a different the food or what I ordered.
Yeah, that might scare them. But what's something that will really scare a waiter? Okay? If you say something like, could I see your manager? I'm sorry, go ahead, Monia, go ahead. You're about to say that? I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Where is the manager? Can I see him?
Yeah.
Can I talk to him?
Exactly, right? And why would that scare a waiter?
Because he's her boss and he can take her away.
Yeah, he might lose his job, right?
Yeah.
The waiter might lose his job if the manager sees that, you know, he was being rude to a customer, he was being unfair to the customer customer requested a change in food, the waiter didn't honor that change, right? It's a big problem. So in the consumer world, right, restaurants and, you know, businesses, all different places like that, using the manager line will really get attention, you know. At least in the U.S., it's something that is very effective in terms of getting...
what about the plane? There is no manager.
The plane, there is no manager, right? So what you would have to do at that point is, you know, I mean, if it's a flight attendant, you could still say something like, can I please see someone else? Can I please talk to another flight attendant? Right? Or usually there is a head flight attendant, right? Maybe not a manager, but this person is kind of the most senior flight attendant, right? You could talk to somebody else like that, right? I guess, you know, the issue is having that understanding, right? Having being polite, even if we want to be angry, right? Being polite and seeing how far you can take your complaint, right? Anyway, guys, great job on that. So we saw could, can, right? Did you want something else, for example? Would you mind, right? Excuse me, please. These are all examples that we can use, right? So do you guys have any questions on that part first?
No, thanks.
Okay, you guys are once again being super polite. Heidi, any questions on that?
No question. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Okay, guys, so let us take a look at the article for today then. I'm just going to paste it in the link. And I don't know if you guys were here. I think Monia did not attend my class for a while, but I was talking about this website, npr.org, and it's a very, very, very good news website. If you want to improve your English, if you want to read really good articles, and NPR has really good radio programs as well that you can listen to. npr.org is a very, very good website to go to. So, any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for the site.
No worries, you're welcome. So, let's get started, guys. We're just going to screen share real quick, and let's see. Okay. Dutch police join investigation into needles found in Delta sandwiches. Delta is an American airline, right? So needles found in Delta sandwiches, right? Police at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport say they still do not know how needles got into turkey sandwiches on Delta Airlines flights from Amsterdam to the United States, but are investigating. The Associated Press reports. As the Wall Street Journal writes, what appear to be sewing needles were found in sandwiches served in business class cabins on 4 Delta Airlines flights to the U.S. from Amsterdam on Sunday, the airline confirmed. A passenger on one of the flights was injured but declined medical treatment from paramedics after the plane landed in Minneapolis, Delta said. The Associated Press says the needles were found in 5 sandwiches, 2 on a flight to Minneapolis, 1 each on 2 separate flights to Atlanta, and 1 on a flight to Seattle. The sandwiches were prepared by the catering company Gate Gourmet in its Amsterdam kitchens. Jim Tonges of Plymouth, Minnesota, tells the Star Tribune that he felt something sharp in his mouth after he bit into his sandwich. I figured it might be a toothpick, he said. Instead, he pulled out a 1-inch needle that had punctured the roof of his mouth. It looked like a sewing needle, but without an eye. I was in shock, I thought. Oh my God, it's the last thing you expect in a sandwich. He was interviewed by the FBI after landing in Minneapolis, and though he declined treatment at the airport, Tonges later spent several hours being examined in a hospital. I'm on strong medication for a month and will be monitored for up to 90 days for viral diseases, hepatitis and HIV, Tonges told the newspaper. Jack Drocht of St. Paul also bit into a needle but was not injured, the Star Tribune says. Delta said it is taking this matter extremely seriously and is cooperating with local and federal authorities. Gate Gourmet says the same. Right? What an incredible situation, right? I mean, we have a very popular airline company, right? This is one of the most popular, one of the largest airlines in the world in terms of passengers that they carry, in terms of flights that they have every day, flying across the Atlantic from Europe to the United States, Asia, the Middle East, everywhere, right? And on 4 separate flights, 5 different sandwiches, right? And it is something that is really a difficult, I mean, this is a nightmare scenario for an airline, right?
In normal process of making a sandwich, it's impossible to mix noodles, needle.
Exactly. How do you think this happened?
Someone intentionally put needle in the sandwich.
But on all these different flights, so 2 flights to 2 different cities, 1 flight to the Seattle, all these different places?
Maybe a sandwich was made in some place in Netherlands. Some factory. Some factory had a contract with the airline.
Yeah, and as a result, this airline was, I mean, these sandwiches were found on the airline, but what would you do, Heidi, if you opened up a sandwich and you saw a needle?
Yeah, I would be surprised. It happened even in Japan, convenience store. Sometimes needle are found in some bread or sweet inside.
What did people do?
People report it to the police.
And what happened after that?
Almost all cases, they found that needle before getting injured.
Yeah, right? So it's one of those things where I guess the situation, I mean, there were no criminal charges. Nobody was charged for something like that.
Yeah, it's possible. Cabin attendant. Even in Japan, some woman put the needle in the bread in the convenience store. She was frustrated in daily life.
So because of her frustration, she decided to maybe hurt other people?
Yeah. So if the criminal was cabin attendant, maybe cabin attendant were always ordered by customers. Sometimes it's reasonable. So they got frustrated and accumulated the kind of frustration.
Did they take her to jail or do anything like that?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, okay, that's good. Because otherwise, if she just said sorry and they said, okay, don't do it again, then I would not be okay with that, you know? So, Monia, what's your reaction to the article? What do you think about this?
Yeah, sorry, my computer stopped suddenly.
No worries.
Okay, I'm reading the article.
Oh, you didn't get a chance to finish it? Okay, do you mind if I...
Yeah.
We can wait for you until you finish.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So Heidi, that's actually surprising for me that it was a convenience store. Was it one convenience store or was it multiple areas throughout the country?
But it's possible, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the one that you're saying, was it just one location or was it multiple locations that you saw this?
Almost all cases, but kind of revenge to the public. They are quiet people. They can't say anything usually. Everybody has some complaint against something, but people who express their frustration. It's better than accumulating that things.
Absolutely, right? I mean, I just don't like the idea that people felt that they could do something like this, you know, do something so dangerous and hurt other people maybe in the process, you know. That's what makes me most concerned about this. Monia, have you gotten a chance to see it? Read the article?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's bad. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they already mean it. meant to put the needle in the censorship.
Somebody meant to put it, or was it an accident, do you think?
Why it will be an accident? I mean,
maybe
how the needles will
needles
get
were
there.
nearby.
I don't know. I have no idea, really. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, I think because there was 5 different sandwiches on 4 different flights, right? And it was business class, right? So it wasn't like it was for more elite passengers, right? Business class usually you have more elite passengers, and I mean, it's just worrisome. What would you do if you opened up your sandwich and you saw a needle?
Well, I'd feel lucky. So if I just saw it before I ate it.
What about if you put it in your mouth and it like hurt your mouth?
Yeah, I think this will be bad.
I would go crazy, right?
Yeah.
I would start like yelling and stuff at people. I would start screaming like, "What is this service? This is the worst service," you know, whatever. I mean, like, no, I'm just joking. I probably wouldn't do that, but it would be. I mean, this is a health concern, right? This is a safety and health nightmare for Delta Airlines, right? And
yeah,
I mean,
it's their responsibility.
Who
Someone
knows?
should pay for that.
Yeah, who knows where these needles were, what kind of needles they are. I mean, the one guy who bit into it, he's on medications for a month now.
Wow.
Because maybe there's disease in maybe needles are contaminated or something happened, you know? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So you guys would both be surprised, which makes me very glad, because otherwise I would think you guys are crazy. But, you know, it's good that you guys are surprised. What about, though, so now let's think about putting ourselves in this situation, right? Let's say that, like, who would be the first person that you would reach out to if this happened? Would you go to a flight attendant, or would you do something more serious? Would you try to report it to
At
some...
first, flight attendant.
Uh-huh. And what would you say?
Please look at this one. I think it's a needle.
And then I'm sure the flight attendant...
It's not mine.
It's not mine.
I found this needle from my sandwich.
And it's not mine. That's a good way of thinking about it, right? Who would you reach out to, Monia? Would you reach out to a flight attendant first, or would you just be screaming and yelling?
Well, it's not. I don't like to scream, and louding, yelling. But I think after I call the flight attendant, I'll start tell everybody in the plane to be careful and look at their meals before they eat. And if there is a head at the plane, I will ask to talk to him and show him my mail and ask him to explain what the needle do in my mail.
How would you, I mean, so that would be the first thing, right? And I'm pretty sure that everybody would at that point say, this is, you know, ridiculous, you know, people, you would get many more people in your group to, you know, either the other passengers would start saying things, maybe the flight attendants would get, you know, agitated at that point too, and they would really try to help you in that situation, right? So I think you guys both agreed on this approach, right? Reaching out to the flight attendant first, warning other passengers, hey guys, don't eat the turkey sandwich because there could be a needle in it, right?
That's so necessary.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's super important because otherwise other people can get hurt also. So now let me shift the conversation away from this article. What is the craziest thing that you have ever found in your food? Heidi, let's start with you. Heidi, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we had a party, then members needed to cook something, only one thing. Then we share that food each other, like kind of party. Then not me, my friend found rice ball, onigiri, do you know? Rice ball.
Rice balls, yeah, I've heard of them.
Other person brought rice ball. Then my friend found from the rice ball the nail, cut nail.
No way.
Yeah, it's quite big.
How did that happen? What did they do after that?
She was very sensitive person, so she screamed. But even the person who made a rice ball was a friend.
And that's one of those things where I guess, I mean, would the what was the reaction? Did they find out how that nail got into the rice cake or the rice ball?
She was quiet and she put rice ball, and after that she never eaten the rice ball. And even me, I witnessed, so I didn't want to eat the rice ball.
I bet, right?
I could imagine how the place was dirty where she made the rice ball.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really a crazy situation that you have food that gets contaminated to this degree, right? Monia, what about you? What's the craziest thing you ever found in food?
Pieces of glass.
I'm sorry?
Broken glass.
A piece of broken glass.
Yeah.
And what kind of food was it?
A sandwich.
Was it from a restaurant?
Fish. Yeah.
No way. What did you do?
They easily exchange it for me, but that was the last time I ate at that restaurant.
How did they react when you showed them the glass?
First they surprised. Then I noticed they were so nervous and scared. But they just replaced it.
How did you get their attention? How did you get their attention at that point?
It's okay. I was speaking Arabic. So, I just call them and please excuse me. What is this? They just look and surprise.
Yeah. That would be so. I don't even know how I would react to that. A piece of glass is extremely serious.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Was it glass like from maybe a piece of like a drinking glass maybe broke?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Heidi, what would you do if that happened to you?
I'm kind of quiet. I remove the glass. I don't want the things anymore.
You wouldn't want to eat it though, right?
But I don't want to make some fuss in that place.
I would still call the guy and say, let me talk to your manager. This is unacceptable. I'm that kind of guy, right? If I go to a restaurant and I see something is like really bad, I will talk to the manager. Give me your manager. I want to talk to him right now. Right? And if the manager is not in front of me in like 30 seconds, he's not getting paid. Nothing is happening that day, So, yeah, that's crazy, guys. I'm very surprised. I thought maybe you guys would say like a hair or something, like something normal, right? Yeah, it's a piece of glass is crazy. Oh my God. All right.
But piece of glass is still something normal to find it into your food, but when it comes to needles, it's a surprise. It's a big shock.
Yeah, needles are crazy. Needles, that's another different category.
What they do in my food?
No
and
idea.
Why?
Maybe somebody was making clothes near the food.
Really?
The needle just fell.
Five sandwiches.
5 noodles is strange, so maybe someone put a needle inside of sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with Heidi.
So if I found the needle, maybe I called the cabin attendant and I said, I will say her, please check in other customer's sandwich.
Right. And guys, I think, this is an important way to think about this. So how could you prove that you did not put the needle yourself?
But maybe we can't bring into the airplane the noodles.
The needle, I don't think they allow you, right? Because it's a sharp object, right? I think if it's metal, if it's a sharp object, that they probably wouldn't let you bring it, right? But let's say you have a needle in your clothes, maybe, right? Like a needle in your, maybe girls, I don't know, what do you guys wear? Like dresses, blouses, right? I mean, maybe there's a needle there, right? And it's just, let's say only one sandwich in the entire plane, and it was just your sandwich. Then, I mean, these airlines are so rich, right? They have so many lawyers. They're so powerful, right? They can easily say, I don't believe this. This is a mistake. Maybe the passenger's needle fell into the sandwich. How could you prove that that was not the case, right? Think about what we all carry. Think about technology.
Or I'm Japanese. The noodle is different from European countries.
Oh, really? The needle in Japan is different?
Yeah, different.
Wow. Is it larger or is it much smaller?
I don't know, very small things. For example, a whole shape or something.
Okay. So it might be more difficult, right? It might be a little bit more difficult. But Monia, what do you think? Like, I mean, what do we all have now? Like on our phones?
Cameras.
Yeah, right? Would it be possible to use a camera and say,
Well, they will still have excuses.
they'll still have excuses, right? They always have excuses. But
Even after you take pictures.
even after you take a picture. Heidi, what do you think? I think you were saying something.
I use needles. My hobby is sewing, right? So when I look at the needles, I can recognize it's mine or others.
But how would you prove that to the airline?
So it's not Japan, made in Japan. So maybe it's in European countries. So it's not mine.
That's a smart way to think about it, right? So Heidi always uses Japanese needles. She's on a plane in Europe, right? This is a European needle. It can't be mine, right? Maybe that would get you some proof, exactly, right? But I think Monia, that the situation. I mean, when I try to think about this, like when I'm driving, right? If I'm driving, one time I was driving a car that I rented. It was a rental car, and when I was making a turn in a drive-through, I didn't realize, but a very small part of the car was dented. Just got a little dent, a little scratch, right? As I was driving, as I was leaving that drive-through, right? And then I came back to the hotel. I looked at the car and I said, I don't remember that being there before, right? So I went back to the car and I took photos of that dent that I saw. Then the next day I emailed the car company and I told them, listen guys, I think this was a dent that I made, right? I wanted proof. Maybe I did it, maybe I didn't do it, right? So I sent them the proof and they said, oh, actually, sir, you did make this dent because when the car was released to you, it didn't have that, right? And they showed me a picture with a date and everything, right? And I suspected that I did it, honestly, because I was driving through a drive-through. It was a very slight dent, but I knew that maybe I had done it. I just wanted the proof, right? So I guess even for that, maybe that's a different situation, but even for your own evidence, right? Like maybe, for example, something shocking happens like that, right? And then you forget the details. You forget if the needle was under the bread or under one slice of meat, or was it completely under, all of the meat, or where was it, right? Maybe in your shock and surprise, surprisement? No, you can't say surprisement. Maybe in your shock and just, the fact that you're so overwhelmed by this, right? You might forget some of the details. So it might not hurt to take a quick picture and say, this is exactly how I found it, right? Do you guys think that would work?
Yeah. You should say, yeah, I got to understand, or the car has dent, small dent, but I don't know about that dent. Do you have any evidence of what I made that dent? Maybe other person made it.
Yeah, and for me, it was even more interesting because I went back to the drive-through, and I wanted to see if maybe the wall of the drive-through had a scratch, right? Yeah. Because if my car scratched it, then they would have a scratch. And I noticed 6 or 7 scratches. I went up to the drive-through and I took like a lot of pictures. 6 or 7 scratches, right? My car only had 1 scratch. So I said, then I contacted the drive-through people and I said, listen guys, this is something that I think is a problem. They said, don't worry about it. People scratch it all the time. Right? Because cars come through, they go through, and sometimes the cars scratch the side of the drive-through, right? But it put my mind at ease, right? Because I was really worried. I thought maybe I should pay the drive-through people, I should pay that restaurant it was, right? for damages, maybe because I damaged their thing, but it was 7, 8 other scratches. Nobody had ever come back and said, guys, did you notice that this is a scratch? You know? So maybe I'm crazy, right? Maybe people don't do that. But for me, I always find it to be, for my own personal understanding and mental peace of mind, right? I would like to have a photo just so that I could always go to that photo. I almost put it in my mouth, then I noticed it. I put the sandwich down, and I took 6 photos, like bam, 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 right? This is exactly how it was, right? Maybe I lift the bread, bam, 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 bam. This is exactly how it was, right? I don't know.
You don't need to pay any money.
Okay, what about the inspections?
What about the what?
Inspections.
The infection part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean before you enter the plane, they will inspect you, right?
They'll inspect you,
So if you have any sharp thing,
sharp
you will
objects,
not be allowed to enter. Yeah, you will not allowed to enter the plane.
But you know, there might be some exceptions, right? Because, for example, I've seen, like, if a woman has a needle as a part of her dress, maybe, then I don't think they'll ask for it.
But you know, I don't think the needles that were in the sandwiches, it's something belong to a dress or something.
I wish there was a photo in this article, honestly. I really want to see what one of these needles looked like. Maybe it was a Japanese needle, Heidi. Right? Because I'm trying to think of what kind of needle this could be. It could fit inside.
A Japanese noodle, I give up.
Heidi would say, I put it inside.
Because it's American airline, not even to
take me to jail.
Yeah.
Japanese.
Exactly.
It's my unlucky.
Everything, yeah. At that point, right? That's crazy, guys. But anyway, so, you know, does this article make you guys more suspicious of airline food now? Did I just scare you guys?
Yeah.
Really?
All kind of food, not only airplanes.
That is crazy.
Not so much in my case.
Yeah, Heidi. I think Heidi is much more relaxed about this than Monia is. I think Monia is very shocked by this article. Right? I mean, it is something that is extremely rare, right? I mean, considering the situation, how many thousands of flights per day between Europe and the United States, and we have just 5 sandwiches, right? Out of the hundreds of thousands of meals, you know, that they serve maybe in a month, right? But you know, it is definitely still, there's no excuse, right? It's something that's very worrisome, I think, for the traveling public. And then the one last thing I would ask you guys is, so one of the things that we saw in the article was, as soon as these passengers reached the United States, the FBI was asking them questions, and the news media, so NPR, CNN probably was also, you know, one person went and asked them questions. In a situation like this, where maybe you were hurt, maybe you might have a disease, you don't know. I mean, who knows what was in that needle, right? You almost ate that needle, right? How would you respond to the media in a polite way? That, for example, whatever situation you want to share with them, how could you communicate with them in a polite way? Newspapers, journalists. I mean, what would you do, Heidi, if you were in that example? You land in Tokyo, you land in Osaka, or you land in the United States, whatever, and all these people want to know what happened to you.
I'm very sad. I'm very unlucky person. So I didn't expect this situation, but unluckily, I got injured in my mouth. It takes over 1 month to overcome from that situation. But only physically I overcame, but still mentally I'm hurt. So I want to ask them for compensation.
How could you ask them for compensation in a polite way?
I ask compensation through my attorney.
Through your attorney, fantastic, smart decision, right? Your attorney can probably get you a lot more money because they can go to the higher authority, right? But you know, let's say in a situation like this, for example, me in my situation, I would not want to talk to the media because what does the media do? The media sensationalizes a story. Right? They take they'll take my photo and they'll say this guy almost died after eating a deadly sandwich.
Yeah.
Right? Next thing I know, all my friends are calling me, "Oh my God, you almost died!" No, I did not almost die. I just found a needle in my sandwich. You know?
You should wear the sunglasses and the cap.
I just walk around like no friends. I don't know you. I don't know you. Right?
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, I would ask the media to leave me alone. I would get down from the plane. The media is like, "Sir, excuse me, sir, how's it going?" No, I don't want to talk to you. So
Yes.
how could I do that politely?
Just leave. Just leave with no response.
But let's say I talk a lot. You guys know that, right? I would have to say something. What could I say and make it polite?
Maybe I said I can't say anything. This case is now under investigation.
This case is now in the hand of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm okay now. It's okay. I'm okay now. I'm alright.
Okay. But those are all just those are all just you guys telling them how you feel. How would you ask them to leave you alone? Is it possible to do that in a polite way, right? What about if you said something like, "Could you please leave me alone? I've had a very long trip." Right?
Yeah.
Could you please leave me alone? Would you mind waiting until the investigation is complete? Right?
Could you ask that question to the company?
Maybe, right? You could ask, you could tell them that. Could you please take your questions to Delta Airlines?
Yeah.
Because right now I don't know any. I have nothing to say. Could you please wait until?
I am only a victim.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So many times, you know, what happens if you notice in the United States, somebody like a criminal, okay, they arrest a criminal. As soon as the criminal leaves the jail, 1,000 reporters are on him, right? The lawyer just says, for example, no comment, no comment, no comment, right? To everybody around, no comment. CNN goes, "Sir, would you please," NBC, "would you please," ABC, they don't care. No comment, right, for all of them. So no comment isn't really a question, or it's not really that polite, excuse me, but we would be able to use something like, you know, "Would you mind leaving me alone? Would you mind giving me some privacy?" Would you mind giving me some privacy, right?
Yeah. Try to be emotional.
Yeah, it might help, right, in this situation.
Yeah, it will.
Exactly.
Most of the time, yeah, it will.
Also the what? I'm sorry?
Most of the time.
Most of the time as well, right? Exactly. Because this is something that really is health related, and especially when you're traveling, I mean, you're not in the right mental state to just land, get off a plane, and then tell everybody your story. Right? You're probably tired, and this was a shock, and all those kinds of things, right? So, guys, before we conclude class, I wanted to ask, did we have any questions about what we looked at? So we started with polite questions, and then we were talking about bizarre situations with food. From Heidi, we heard from a case in Japan with nails in rice balls or rice cakes, and from Monia, we heard of glass in her food. What kind of dish was it that you found this glass in? It was a sandwich, you said, right?
Yeah, sandwich.
What kind of sandwich? Like a chicken sandwich or something? Oh, a fish sandwich.
Fish. Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. Was it near the ocean, or was it near like near the Red Sea?
No. It was in Mecca.
Oh, it was in Mecca. Wow. So that is crazy. Is that business still alive? That fish restaurant?
Yeah, I think so.
But you're not going back, right?
No, never.
Have you told your friends not to go back also?
Yeah,
Wow.
of course.
I would do the same, right? I would do the same. And now maybe with the Yelp and all these review websites, you can go online and write a review. And you can say, don't go here because one time I had a really bad experience, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But anyway, so Heidi had to go, Monia, but do you have any questions? It's a long time since you've been in my class, so maybe there's something I can help you with, or...
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. Your classes are too early to me.
Yeah, very early in the morning,
Almost
right?
5 a.m.
I know. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
But I'll actually be adding more classes. 2 weeks from now, I'll be adding classes in the morning in the U.S., so they'll be in the evening in Saudi, so you can probably take them.
Yeah, okay, I understand. But, I'm here now to say goodbye because tomorrow will be my last day at Kulingo.
Really? How come?
Because it's the end of the month, and I just canceled my account because I have to concentrate on my studies from now, and I have to be prepared for my exams by the next month. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I'm here to say goodbye.
Well, goodbye to you as well. It was a pleasure whenever we have
I'll be back.
Speak as well. Yeah, be back, and if you ever have questions, contact me on Facebook or anything like that. I can serve as a resource.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Inshallah, have a good day.
Inshallah, you too.
Take care.
Okay, thanks for the classes.
No problems, you're welcome.
My treatment, radiation treatment. My shoulder kind of muscle training, so maybe it's very tired. Always I need to have cast. Cast is quite heavy.
Sounds great. Yeah, I know the cast is heavy, but I mean, do they have a plan for maybe loosening it or making it easier for you to move around with that on?
No.
It has to stay on.
Yeah, nothing special.
Yeah. So you have to have it for another week, right?
Yeah, I need to bring this cast until next month.
Oh, next month, so it's more than a couple of weeks then.
More than 3 or 4 weeks.
Nice. So that's great.
So I have a stiff shoulder.
You have a stiff shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's one of those things that if your arm hurts, then it's your entire. We do have children. We do have a lot of teenagers, for example. I had friends in high school who maybe they broke their leg. They still did a lot of things. They were outside and walking around, shopping, going everywhere. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's different for each person, of course.
When I was junior high school student, my classmate got injured on his leg. He had a cast. Then many students write down that bad thing, like stupid or something on his cast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not fair. People shouldn't say stuff like that, right? But in any case, yeah, it's an experience. Hopefully you feel better soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Gabriel, how's it going, man?
Hello, Juan. I'm good.
Good, man. I'm good. How's life in Recife?
A lot of traffic jam here.
Really?
Yes, it's very annoying.
Ah, man, I don't know what to say. I feel that today I was in traffic in the morning. Usually, let's say your arm is broken, all the affected muscles near your arm, so your shoulder, maybe your biceps, your triceps, all of those muscles hurt because of that associated injury.
Have you ever experienced breaking a bone? No, breaking bone. Have you ever experienced?
I've never experienced breaking a bone. No, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was one of those things that I think is it's an experience if you want to have that experience, but at the same time, I would not want to have that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
very experience for me. Once last year, I broke my another bone, another arm. Then I understood how painful it was, or how to treat that, how overcome from that situation. But this is the next time, second time.
Exactly.
Needless experience.
I know. It's, I mean, we have to be flexible, I guess, when things like this happen, right? I mean, I think.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Heidi?
I already went to the clinic for my treatment. Today is Saturday, so only morning. It opens.
Nice.
What?
Yeah, what happened, Heidi?
No, nothing. Only went to the clinic.
Did they say anything? Did they do anything?
I don't know, nothing. Only for me.
I think a big experience for a lot of women is when they first have a child, right? So it's such an you know a major physical and mental, emotional change for them that. But some women, once they have children, they like to have more children, you know, even though it's painful and not exactly the best, not exactly the most enjoyable process, right, for 9 months.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still an experience, right? I think we all grow from these experiences. Do you have anything fun planned for the weekend, for today or tomorrow?
Because of my arm, I can't do anything.
So, yeah, it makes sense that. But I mean, you can still do the activities you did before. Like you enjoyed walking, you enjoyed shopping. You can still do those, right?
But now I can't do that.
Because so you want to stay at home and rest.
Can you imagine if a woman had a brisk walking, having a cat on there?
Oh yeah, exactly. If you're walking briskly, yeah, absolutely. Then it wouldn't be good for you to
Very
have a
strange.
cat. Yeah, but here, you know, we do.